After watching E3 this year, I was left in a disappointed and pensive state. The only game that really blew me away was one for which I didn't even see gameplay. Unsurprisingly, it was Cyberpunk 2077. After watching the trailer enough to memorize it and reading through every single interview that anyone on the dev team gave, I was feeling incredibly melancholic. This was in no way the fault of this upcoming game or of what was being discussed with regards to it, but rather it was born out of the awareness of this game's exceptionality. This all made me realize that Cyberpunk 2077 should make you both depressed and hopeful. And this may seem needlessly paradoxical, but I swear I have a salient point. Allow me to explain. Rewind the clocks to early 2015. RPG fans are eagerly awaiting games like Mass Effect Andromeda, Fallout 4, The Witcher 3, Persona 5, and Final Fantasy 15. These fans had a plethora of games for which to be excited and hopeful. These games were being sold as a single-player RPG experience with a focus on pro-consumer practices and, what are now, old-fashioned sales models. Gamers didn't just think, they knew that when they bought one of these games at full price, they were going to easily get 100+ hours out of it, and that they would be given a world in which they could lose themselves for months. Perhaps it was a time of blissful ignorance. A time when we all trusted large corporations and companies to have our best interests at heart. A time when the thought of a $60 season pass was absurd. But while we were happy with the industry's status, the powers that be were not. And they took drastic action to reverse the course and find a more profitable structure. Multiplayer games became more and more prominent after it became clear that the money to be made was ungodly, examples being Grand Theft Auto 5, PUBG, and Fortnite. Multiplayer and online content started showing up in all games regardless of whether or not they were intended to be single-player games at their inception. Final Fantasy 15 has been given a multiplayer mode, and Mass Effect Andromeda also launched with multiplayer, which no doubt stole focus away from the development on the sorry state of its single-player campaign. Companies also started to simplify their games in an attempt to make them appeal to larger swaths of the populace. As a result, they stripped away the RPG mechanics that we all knew and loved from the games that were sold to us by way of said mechanics. Other RPGs were delayed and eventually released, and while fun and engaging, they were technologically outdated by the time they received full worldwide releases. All of this no doubt sounds familiar, but the one game that came along and didn't fall into any of these traps was, of course, Battlefront 2. This game epitomized what good and respectful business practices should look like. It was so inspiring to me that I bought 12 copies and now store them in a small Bible blessed by Gandhi himself. Okay, just kidding. You see, it's funny because the opposite is true. What I actually meant was, of course, The Witcher 3. This masterpiece from CD Projekt Red is the definition of what every gamer should hope and wish for within the gaming industry. Of course, it has received an unholy amount of praise from gaming journalists, as it deserves, but the point of bringing it up in this video is to show that the last game that truly epitomized what a AAA RPG should be was developed by the same group that is making Cyberpunk 2077. Now, in 2018, we're looking at an industry that has almost completely given itself over to the practice of games as a service. Bethesda Game Studios is developing an always-online Fallout game, which 3 years ago would be blasphemous to suggest. Battle Royale games are ruling the profitability spectrum to an extent where it looks as though Battlefield 5, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and even Red Dead Redemption 2 will all feature a Royale mode. BioWare has apparently completely forgotten how to make video games altogether, and it looks as though one of only a couple of RPGs we'll get to play in 2018 will be an Assassin's Creed title. Wait, is that right? Now, Assassin's Creed is an RPG franchise now? That's it. That's it. The internet is over. I've seen it all. We can't even rely on Bethesda game studios to make a single player RPG anymore. All we have now is CD Projekt Red and Ubisoft. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. Okay, all fun set aside, it's kind of depressing that only a couple of AAA studios seem to be moving towards single-player RPGs. It's like all of us who are fans of these games are the old guard about to be forcibly retired in favor of the new and more profitable generation. It's dreadfully unfortunate that making huge RPGs is, for many studios, prohibitively expensive. It's depressing. Looking at the industry now fills me with nothing but sadness and despondency, but it doesn't have to be that way. Think about the games we just went through. Sure, they were games from old studios that we used to rely on for the games we love to play, but life isn't always about relying on the old, but rather looking forward to the new. Sure, it's unfortunate that incredible groups of artists like the ones over at BioWare are now gone and dismantled, but rather than feel melancholy about it, we should look at the positive. The fact that massive studios such as CD Projekt Red and freaking Ubisoft are now fully committing to single-player RPGs. The A-team that we used to know may no longer be what we knew, but there are incredible things happening in this industry. It may seem as though there's no hope for those of us who game for huge and immersive worlds that we can delve into, and that may be depressing, but don't lose hope. After all, this art form is still in its infancy, and we're just getting started. And so, while there is certainly reason to feel defeated, don't. Look forward to games like Cyberpunk and revel in the fact that the best RPGs ever made are still on their way. But that's all I've got to say in this video. Thank you for watching, honestly and truly. If you liked the video, consider subscribing, and if you want to support the channel so more content like this video can continue to be uploaded and created on a regular basis, maybe check out my Patreon or the new merch store, which I'll have linked down in the description box below. I must say it's all of impeccable quality. I am even impressed, and I promise you will not be disappointed.